tuned into Quick Charge, the high voltage podcast bringing you the top stories in electric vehicles and sustainable energy daily. And it's all powered by Electrek. Welcome to Quick Charge. It's April 1st, 2025, and I'm your host, Joe Boris. Now, it is April 1st, which means it's April Fool's Day, but the fools don't really kick in until tomorrow, which is being called Liberation Day, and that is the day that the new tariffs come into play. Of course, these tariffs are 25% tariffs on all foreign-made automobiles and automotive parts. They are largely driven by the Trump administration and that dude down there, Elon Musk. And this is something that has been coming. It was announced last week, but it was previously announced a couple of weeks before that. So this is like our third round at these things. They haven't quite happened yet, but this time it really looks like they're going to happen. And there's a ton of vehicles all through the EV space that are made outside of the US and some that are made inside the US that might be surprising. So of course, we've got a full list here. Go over to electrek.co. I'll even have the list for this in the show notes. But, you know, right there, Cadillac, Celestiq, no real surprise there, made in Michigan. A lot of these BMWs and Audis made in Germany, no surprise there. But there's a couple here that are surprising. The Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV that's made in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So that one is going to get probably get a good pass there. We've also got the EQS that's made in Alabama. We've got the Lucid Air and Lucid Gravity. They're made in Casa Grande, Arizona. And then, of course, you know, there's a ton of these Stellantis vehicles that are made overseas or have a lot of overseas components. So definitely something to check out. Again, electrek.co, and we'll have the link in the show notes. But there's, again, tons and tons of vehicles are going to be affected by this, and tons of companies are going to be affected by this, with one report saying that Trump's tariffs on imports could cripple Stellantis' annual earnings by 75%. Now, of course, the joke there is that Stellantis has earnings. I mean, that brand has been in trouble for a long time. Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler's down to one vehicle, and it's a minivan. So they've been in trouble for a while. They have massive amounts of inventory, and these tariffs are not going to help them because of the massive amounts of parts that they get from Europe. Automotive News Europe shared a report from investment bank Jefferies outlining a trying year for Stellantis. The bank pointed out that Stellantis U.S. sales rely heavily on vehicles assembled at facilities in Canada and Mexico, in addition to approximately 58,000 additional vehicles imported from Europe in 2024. This includes marques like Maserati, Alfa Romeo, and of course, Jeep. Based on Stellantis' 2024 financial and vehicle sales results, Jefferies stated that the incoming tariffs would have cost the company $7.1 billion in earnings and estimates. Its earnings before interest and taxes, EBIT, would be $9.3 billion. So obviously a lot of companies are going to get hit hard by this. And this, of course, assumes that prices don't go up, and prices obviously always do go up. And one company that likes to play around with their prices is Tesla. They drop their prices, they raise their prices, they kind of do whatever they want. And Elon is saying that Tesla is not unscathed by the tariff, and saying that the impact of those tariffs is going to be significant on its cars. Now, despite the fact that Tesla is among one of the most American-made models sold in the US, it does get more than 20% of its parts from Mexico and several more from Canada. If you look at the information here, NHTSA released data about the sourcing of parts for all vehicles in the U.S., but doesn't account for the U.S. and Canada together. It also lists the country of origin for the next largest source of parts. For Tesla, that's Mexico on all car models. The Model 3 uses about 20% of its parts from Mexico, Model Y 25%. Even the Cybertruck, which is assembled here in the US, gets about 25% of its parts from Mexico, and another 10% from Canada, China, and other sources. So this is a big deal. And if you don't think that 25% tariffs on top of 25% of all the parts they're buying is a big deal, you're not mathing right. So this is definitely something that's significant, and there are bound to be retaliatory tariffs put in place, not only in countries like China and Europe, but even our neighbors in Canada, where we supposedly have a free trade agreement, which is, of course, a free trade agreement that Donald Trump signed into effect in 2020. So, you know, he's been sitting here complaining about all these parts coming in from Canada and Mexico. Yeah, that's his signature on the paperwork. So get excited about that. Tesla's policy team sent a letter to the U.S. government to complain about potentially being the target of retaliatory tariffs amid Trump's trade war. The automaker's right, as Canada is already targeting Tesla directly with policy changes. Tesla gets roughly 25% of its parts of its vehicles from Mexico, in addition to an undisclosed amount of Canadian parts. Furthermore, Tesla builds a significant amount of its manufacturing machinery in China. The automaker's policy team was right to worry about retaliatory measures over the tradeway. Just today, BC Hydro, which offers rebates for installing EV charging stations, announced that it is excluding Tesla products from the program in response to U.S. tariffs. BC Energy Minister Adrian Dix commented on the move. I thought they shouldn't be made available on a public subsidy program right now. I don't think anyone in British Columbia needs to be told why, and I think most people would support their removal from that list. The province is also considering removing Tesla from the $4,000 rebate program at the purchase of electric vehicles. That's just the beginning. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who could be part of the new Canadian government if a coalition is formed after the upcoming elections, vowed to implement 100% tariffs on Tesla vehicles coming from the U.S. Now, of course, Tesla sales are in free fall in Europe. They're not doing great in China or in Latin America, certainly not doing awesome in Canada, and allegedly not doing great here in the U.S. We're going to see what those quarterly deliveries look like in a couple of days, but for now, it looks pretty sketchy, and they will not be unscathed when it comes to these tariffs. Hyundai, meanwhile, arguably the biggest real rival to Tesla's dominance in the EV space, at least in North America, is investing $21 billion over the next 3 years with no plans to slow down. The funds are going to help expand production, partnerships, and EV charging infrastructure across the U.S., with some of the investment being used for a new plant to produce steel for its upcoming EVs. Other companies that are looking at this as an opportunity are Geely. Geely, of course, the parent company of Volvo, Lotus Cars, and Polestar, and they are offering a $20,000 conquest deal for people trying to get out of Teslas. Now, Geely, of course, massively huge company in China, massively profitable company too. There are rumors that Geely is trying to hold the line. There's a lot of these vehicles made in China overseas, but they have excess capacity in South Carolina. They are building more facilities in the U.S. And, you know, the new Nikola factory that was out there on the West Coast, that's available now. There's some Chrysler and GM properties that are available now. Geely has what it takes to move a lot of this production to the US, and they are aggressive enough to try to invest money and build a foothold. And they can afford to have China and Europe float the bill in the US for a little while if it means getting market share. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to head on over. Again, we'll have the links here at electrek.co. We'll have it in the show notes here if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to this, again, electrek.co, look for the Quick Charge podcast category, and you can find all of these topics. And finally, buy it now. These EV deals will be hardest hit by Trump's tariffs after April 2nd. Obviously, it's already April 1st. So unless you're on the West Coast and you hurry real quick down to Longo Toyota or something, you have probably missed out on the pre-tariff pricing. But some of these specials are going to be extended into April on vehicles that are on the lot, especially 2024 models. So definitely take a look at that before dealers start marking it up. We'll have those show notes on electrek.co. Definitely check that out. Let us know what you think of the new format where we're focusing on one particular topic in the news. We're going to have another one in a couple of days. It could be a totally different topic filled with Electrek articles discussing that and effectively taking us on a little bit of a deep dive. Let us know what you think of that in the comments. And you know what? Whether you like it or not, it's kind of what we're doing now. So feel free. Enjoy.